Hi everyone, Kate Munding here, and welcome back to my channel where I'm combining my experience as a meditation teacher with my experience as a parent raising a child on the autism spectrum. And I'm doing this because I want to offer something that is supportive to other parents who are raising neurodivergent children. And so, as I've said in previous videos, what I have found to be one of the most supportive activities in my life before being a parent and now certainly being a parent is having a mindfulness practice. So today we're going to dive into what is mindfulness and what isn't it. So many of you, I'm sure, have heard the word mindfulness. You may have practiced mindfulness before. So I just want to give a brief, simple definition that we'll be working from on what mindfulness is. And mindfulness, of course, comes from many different backgrounds, primarily from Buddhism. And I am a Buddhist. I am a practicing Buddhist. I teach in the Buddhist world. And so a lot of the way I understand mindfulness and the way I practice meditation does stem from Buddhism. I'm not going to be teaching you straight up Buddhism. That's not what this channel is, but I want to acknowledge where the roots are from Southeast Asia, that this is a practice that is steeped in history and culture, and we don't want to forget that. So mindfulness is, although these practices are coming from Buddhism, it's a small part of what the practices are and what is considered the spiritual path of Buddhism. So it's been brought into this more secular limelight in our culture, and that's more of what I'll be bringing forward so that it's accessible to whoever you are. So mindfulness in this respect is this mental capacity that we all have. And it does have to do with paying attention, but it's a particular way in which we can pay attention. So first, it's a way that we pay attention with intention, that we are purposely bringing our attention to something that's happening, and whatever it is happening in the moment. And when we're practicing mindfulness, we know that whatever it is we're paying attention to is happening right now in the moment. We're very clear that where we are is right here in the moment. And that may seem obvious, but I want you to reflect on how often throughout the day are you really right here? Are you present? Are you embodied? Or are you finding that your mind is in 100 other different places, maybe thinking about stuff going on later in the day or far out in the future? You might have a mind that tends more towards imagination. You might have a tendency to be more in your past, remembering things that have already happened, reliving things that have already happened. We can be having those kinds of thoughts and be aware of that in the moment, but oftentimes what happens is that all of that is happening and we completely lose track that none of it is actually happening right now. It's all in our mind. So mindfulness brings this clarity of what's actually just happening in the mind and what is happening in reality. So that's one of the wonderful things about mindfulness, is it keeps us grounded in what is actually true and happening right now. So I can imagine you can think of some benefits of that. Another thing that mindfulness does is when we're paying attention to something in the moment, maybe it's not thoughts, maybe it's emotion or physical sensation, maybe it's something else altogether, something that we're hearing, something we're seeing. Again, what mindfulness does is help us not only know that we're experiencing that right here in the present, but it gives us this ability to see it more clearly, what is actually going on, and then we start to see how we're relating to that experience, which is also very helpful. So oftentimes something will come into our consciousness, like a sound might happen. Someone might be making a loud sound outside. Maybe someone's blowing off the leaves from their front yard, or the garbage truck is coming down the road and making these loud beeping noises. And it might go unnoticed in some ways, but I might somehow hear that and start to get annoyed and not even be realizing that it's the sound that's causing an annoyance, that there's something in me that's reacting to the sounds that are outside, not wanting them to be there, wishing it was quieter, wishing they would go away, and this tension starts to arise. And this is kind of a simplified possibility, but it's sometimes these little things that go unchecked, unnoticed, that begin to build and follow us throughout the day. The sound might change and go away, but that tension and annoyance, that feeling of annoyance, might stay within my body for the rest of the day and affect many different things. It's not the fault of the leaf blower or the garbage truck, right? And it's not really my fault either. It's just that I wasn't paying attention. I didn't notice that I was having some kind of reaction to that, and now it's followed me into other areas of my life. So take that example and apply it all over the place. It might be that there's a conversation that you're going to have later with someone and you're nervous about it. And so you're thinking about it, but you're not noticing how that kind of future thinking is affecting you. It might put you in a really bad mood. It might make you agitated towards other people. It might even cause you to lose sleep, affect your eating habits that day, all sorts of things. And you may not even be aware of all that stress that is being cultivated. And actually, you're supporting that stress within your life because you're not aware of it. You wouldn't choose it. None of us would choose more stress, choose heartache, choose bad moods. But, when we're not conscious that we have even a choice, that we are being affected in this way, we're just kind of at the whims of however we're going to react to our environment, our external environment, but also our internal environment. So we'll go more into all of this later on. I want you to right now understand that this is what mindfulness is. It is a natural human capacity. We can all do it. When we practice mindfulness, there's some beautiful byproducts of mindfulness. It helps us stay present. It helps us stay centered. There's sometimes a calming effect that can come with mindfulness. It can deactivate something that is agitating or stressful. Suddenly we see it for what it really is, and there's something in us that shifts and says, oh, I don't have to worry about that right now, or that's not totally based in the reality of the situation of what's happening here, or maybe I can look at this in a different way. So it has these benefits. It has this potential that can feel really good when we are present and our nervous system is balanced and we're feeling calm and even happy and satisfied about our life. We feel good. And because of that, I think so often we connect mindfulness and doing mindfulness properly with feeling good. And that is true some of the time. And the more we do it, I will say that is what begins to be cultivated. So we have more of that in our life. We have more of that satisfaction and happiness with our life and less stress. But it doesn't always go that way. Sometimes when we're practicing mindfulness, what we are most aware of is our stress, is something that is emotionally upsetting, is something physical that's uncomfortable. So it's important to know that when we practice mindfulness, it doesn't always equal feeling really good. And that's important to know because I think so often people do a meditation practice and think, oh, well, this isn't for me, I'm not doing it right, because you're noticing the opposite of feeling good. Maybe you're noticing how busy your mind really is. That's really common when we practice our meditation. So we notice that the mind is scattered, it's agitated, restless. We notice the body might be restless and it's uncomfortable. So sometimes mindfulness practice is noticing what is happening that's uncomfortable. And it's usually not the mindfulness that's causing the discomfort. The discomfort's already there. It's just suddenly we're present again. We're here for it. We're not distracted by it or distracted away from it. We're here with it. And if you're asking yourself, well, why would I ever want to be with the discomforts of my life? It's because those discomforts don't just go away. I think that's what we hope. We find lots of ways to cope, hoping that they will just kind of shift and go away. But really, these discomforts, they either continue on, we feed them, they get worse without us even realizing it. We continue behaviors or to have things in our lives that increase these discomforts in our lives, the stress in our lives. And so when we are face to face with them, and we can do this almost like we're in a laboratory with our practice, we can do it in a way that is gentle, right? We don't have to go right to the heart of the worst discomfort you can think of in your life. We can work our way there. So we can do this gently, but it's important that we do it because it's then that we can start to change different conditions in our life. We can start to work on just our mental relationship with whatever is at the heart of that discomfort. There's a lot of transformation that can begin to happen with our mindfulness practice when we're paying attention to the things that, frankly, we'd rather just weren't there. But of course, we're human. It's part of the human condition. We're going to have the really wonderful, blissful meditations sometimes, and then other times we're having the opposite. We're face to face with the things that pain us. So there does need to be an element of courage with mindfulness practice. But my guess is that most of you who are parents, you're listening to this channel, you're tuning in, you're interested in this, you're ready for this on some level. And so what I'll be offering in the next number of videos are a variety of practices for you to choose from, for you to try out. There's no one way to do mindfulness, to do a meditation. And because we all do have different minds, we know this. We have different minds, different ways of thinking. We have different nervous systems that need to be attended to. We have different conditions and pasts. All of that plays a part in figuring out, well, what is our way in? What's our personal practice that will support us in this moment or support us today? So there are many different ways to practice mindfulness, and I'm going to expose you to a lot of different ways to practice, and you'll be able to see what works best for you right now and continue to use that and hopefully benefit from that. So let's get started.